All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lonely Community College versus the University of Cincinnati. I am Tim Freitag, the Random Gamer, and I am joined today by Frank. Why don't you introduce yourself, Frank?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Frank the Great Grizzly of the North, and I'm gonna be this game with Tim, my new best friend.
Yeah, we just got acquainted and we're already besties.
It's true. It's very true.
All right, we're just
I'm actually going to transfer schools just so I can go and hang out with them. It's my new favorite thing.
Oh man, I don't know about that. That sounds like a commitment.
Well,
I don't know if I'm ready for that step in our relationship yet.
it's fine. Anyhow, I guess we should actually, back to the game.
Yeah, definitely. So we're just we're gonna get started any minute now. Yeah, it's the last day of season 3. Who's excited for that?
All of the people who are actually ranked, unlike me, which is ironic because, as we were talking about, I am also, besides being a streamer for the university, the vice president. So their vice president of the University of Cincinnati is unranked. Goes to show you, you can achieve your dreams, kids.
Yeah, trust me, whenever people ask me, how's ranked, there's no difference between ranked and unranked solo queue. It's everyone calling their laner feeding, and even if you call first, they're going to insta-lock their favorite champion. So,
It's true. That's what our member Catholics does all the time. He's just going to go to bot lane and he's going to feed like none other. Also, nepotism does work great if anyone's reading the chat. That's the only way I got my job. Nepotism.
See, I try to fill, but everyone still fights. Like, oh, support's open. Yeah, I'll take support, no problem. But everyone else on your team wants top lane. So, not good.
See, that's why I always play support. It's just easier. So, as we're currently waiting, we just got our final member, and we should be starting pretty shortly.
We should be starting very soon. All the members are in, so yeah, we're just waiting until all champions or all summoners confirm that they're good to go. And it looks like they are ready, and we are going to go into champion select here. Everyone's still loading in for me, at least. And my internet's a little slow, but we're here with the Hecarim ban coming out for I actually think that the teams ended up switching sides, right? Yeah, they did. They foiled my plans. We're gonna switch.
And what were those plans?
We're switching this actively on stream. Here we go. I'm just gonna.
Yes, I recall this.
This is perfect. Look, I'm just gonna switch this, and everything's fixed. There we go. More or less. They're out to get you and me right now. They're trying to make our life really hard. But back to the picks and bans. Coming out from University of Cincinnati, we have Hecarim and Shen. Coming out from Aloni, we have Vayne and Kassadin. What do you think about these bans so far?
I mean, there's some fairly standard bans. Shen is a very powerful top laner, Hecarim's a very powerful jungler, and unless the teams have done some research on each other, they're probably just going to go with some standardly powerful bans. Mm-hmm. Though, I will say that banning Vayne was definitely a good idea because a lot of UC players seem to do very well with Vayne. At least through our summer tournament, a lot of them rolled bot lane with Vayne.
Yeah, I have to completely agree with you. In our summer tournament, Vayne was the bane of every team's existence, every match. So it's a good idea.
Kassadin I do find to be a little bit of an interesting ban choice because while he is powerful and he has a lot of escape, I don't know if that's necessarily the route that I would standardly go.
I know a lot of players struggle against Kassadin in mid lane. But I have to agree that ordinarily for me that's not something I would ban out unless you did your homework and you see that their team is playing Kassadin often and successfully. So interesting ban there.
And yes, and to be quite frank with you, about the only player that I've seen in-depth play from on this team has been Clix, and I don't recall him ever doing Kassadin necessarily, but I will warn you that Catholics is gonna be a trip for your team. He is one of our, in my opinion, one of our better players. But I will say I do find the other two bands interesting, the final two bands, Jax and Nidalee.
Yeah.
And I'm not entirely sure what they were going with.
The Nidalee ban I find very interesting. The Jax of course is such a strong pusher. You know, Jax, even if he does bad, he'll catch up and he will do some sort of damage to your team. Even though it's still an interesting ban, it's not a conventional ban by any means, but for me that makes a lot more sense than the Nidalee ban. I don't know about that Nidalee ban. I mean, maybe they're trying to get a poke, like anti-poke comp going or something like that, but I don't know. That's an interesting ban.
Well, going on to the actual picks now, we see Genkill picking up the Resh, and we also see a Tristana for the University of Cincinnati, and then we see a excuse me, a Leona and a Vi. And as it sits, unless we're going to be doing some swapping, you might be able to show a little more insight on this if CRS Skyblade is more a top laner, but or a jungler. But if we're looking at this just as it is, it kind of appears that we're going to just see a top Vi.
Yeah, oh, and there goes Renekton, so I'm gonna assume that Vi's, if he picks up Renekton, we're gonna see Vi in the jungle, I'm gonna go out here and say. And I think it's interesting that Cincinnati shows both of their bottom laners as their first two picks. That definitely leaves Alonia open to counterpick that very heavily. So we're going to see how they
I would agree with you. And I would say that that's definitely why Leona was taken. Because if Thresh wants to go in, Leona's definitely going to follow. And it's going to be quite an issue for UC's bot lane.
And there we have it.
Time, with a whole bunch of lane swaps, and all of those shenanigans, yeah. Also, it's pretty clear that, or at least to us, not to them, that Thresh is going to be swapping more than likely.
Yeah,
with Malphite.
I agree.
I'm
I mean,
not sure exactly what's going on.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try and fix that.
All right, just go ahead. We're gonna be in loading more or less soon.
It becomes too much of an issue. I will drop out for you.
Yeah. I don't know. It might be TeamSpeak is having a little fit,
pleasure.
Which I will definitely check out very quickly. You never know. It could be TeamSpeak, could not be TeamSpeak. That is odd. But yeah. Okay, so the teams have locked in, and going over these very quickly. For the University of Cincinnati, we're going to have Lee Sin in the jungle, Tristana and Thresh bottom lane, a Malphite top with that teleport flash, of course, and an Orianna mid. And on Aloni's side, we have top lane Renekton, jungle Vi, mid lane Syndra, very interesting pick, in the bottom lane Leona and Ezreal. And Syndra, one of my favorite mid lane champions, so I'm looking forward to this match right now. But yeah, we'll see how these two teams played out. I like both comps. They're both relatively strong.
I would have to agree, and I have to drop stream for just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, I will return.
Alright, well, looking forward to having you back in a minute. Alright. So, taking a look at these two comps, we see an aggressive bottom lane for sure. Thresh being that support that has made so many game-changing plays in so many matches for everyone this season. Definitely a great pick, but Leona also such an aggressive support. You know, goes all in and so many stuns. And then Ezreal and Tristana both being able to poke out a pretty good amount of damage. For the junglers, both junglers having a strong gap closer, again, both with their Q. And I believe Frank is back.
Yes, I am. Let's see if this works any better. If anyone in the stream can tell me if it's lagging or cutting in or out, etc., I'd be most grateful.
Some people say that a few people are having stuttering, but 2 people are saying they have stuttering, so I don't know if everyone else is having that issue with the stream. I would hate that. Okay, some people say it's okay, some people say it's
well, on some people's ends, it might actually be they need to clear their caches. Apparently Twitch does have some issue with that.
Mm-hmm.
Which might make your Twitch overall better, but we'll see as this progresses. And
by the way, you're sounding a lot better. So whatever you did to fix worked.
Oh, I hope so. We'll find out. Anyhow, going back to what we were talking about.
Yes.
The game itself.
Let's have your input on these teams, if you want to say anything.
Well, I think one of the things you have to look at least on Cincinnati's end of things, that's very much an engage-disengage team. What they're really wanting to do is get in and get out. Like, extremely is that what that is, because Lee Sin can jump in, he can jump out. Tristana can jump in, she can jump out. Thresh can hook his way in and he can run out, or he can lantern people out of an engagement. Malphite is perfect for breaking up an engagement, and so is Orianna. So I think that's really the team comp that they're looking for. They're definitely just trying to be as disruptive as possible and fight the fights on their time.
Alright, we're gonna go into loading in a second.
And we are.
That's my beautiful desktop.
Getting ready for the fun and the excitement.
Yeah, and I'm gonna need to change this again. Like I said, those players decided to play on the wrong side. I don't know if they decided that beforehand or if that just ended up being the way it was.
I don't honestly know.
Maybe they just all agreed to screw with the streamers. But I don't know. That seems kind of rude. I don't think they would do that.
Just to spite us.
Alright. Getting this fixed up right here for everyone. And that looks beautiful. Yeah, the point you were making about their team and their ability to engage and disengage, I found that very interesting. Because I have to agree with you. And this kind of team comp with Lee Sin and Malphite both can go into the enemy team and not worry about instantly dying. And if that Orianna ball is on them, that ult will be absolutely devastating. And it'll open up the ability for Thresh to capture all 5 people in his ult. So their comp is looking strong in terms of engage and disengage. So I have to agree that their comp is looking pretty good.
Then going on to Purple Team's comp, it's very much Really, very much seems like a burst comp. Like, Syndra is high burst, Renekton is high burst.
Yeah, I agree. It might be more that Aloni decided to play with champions they're comfortable with rather than picking a complete comp. But yeah, UC's comp is better in my opinion, but comp is not the entire game. So I think we're going to see a good match. And I need to turn off the music. I'm enjoying my music a little bit too much.
Stop that.
Yeah.
There's no fun here. You're not allowed to have fun.
This is League. It's not business. A game. This is life. All right, and everyone meeting up in mid lane here. We have Aloni in that top river bush, and UC making its way around, and we're gonna see what happens here. Thresh leading the charge. He started with his Q, so if he lands that hook early on, it will spell trouble for Aloni. And Renekton being in that bush, we'll see what happens. He's not really sure where to go. Is he gonna get grabbed? And they burn the early flash, and they try to follow up, but he just walks away from that one.
Well, that is a loss. Flash is always a great thing to have. It's always excellent to have. Renekton does have one advantage still with Slice and Dice. He still can get in and get out. So while it is better to have that flash, it's not going to be the worst thing for him to have lost it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we saw Cincinnati placing a ward, seeing all 5 people in that bush, just immediately walking away. But they're going to see Vi's movement now as she clears, when she goes to clear her red. Right now she's starting blue. And it's looking like...
Well, I don't think she's actually going to make it back to her red. I think UC is going to pick it up.
Yeah, Cincinnati's going to steal that red, but we're going to see... Cincinnati warded their own red as well, so if Vi goes to steal that, they will know when she does that as well. So very good ward placement by Cincinnati early on. Definitely giving them the advantage right now.
And that is exactly what Vi is going to do. Definitely on all standings, a wise choice to try and head in and pick up the red. But that could cost her with Thresh and Tristana being able to see her.
And she is going around for the bomb bush, and she's going to try and steal it. And they know. Lee Sin knows.
Here comes Lee Sin.
And the pings are already coming out. And yeah, sure enough, Tristana and Thresh are making their way around this way. We're going to see another flash burn here. Aloni is using their flashes pretty early on, and this is very good for Cincinnati right now.
Definitely good for UC. Once again, it's a similar practice with Renekton though for Vi, which is while she's now been denied red buff again, which is not good, losing that flash shouldn't kill her just because she can punch through walls. So it's definitely instrumental, but there should still be some escape options for her.
Yeah, both Renekton and Vi having those escape abilities. Not too bad that they lost their flash, but nonetheless, it can cause a play or some sort of mistake. But we'll see how they deal with that. If you
think about it, it already has caused a play because now Lee Sin is up 2 red buffs in experience and in gold.
And Lee Sin's coming top right now.
I didn't notice that they left a single minion at Purple's red, so that's going to set the timer even farther back for Vi.
She actually just cleared it too, and Lee Sin went top, but decided not to engage on that anyway. So they didn't have a ward, but he decided to turn around and leave.
That could be beneficial to him just for the fact of Renekton's stun. Like, Lee Sin wants to stay in the jungle and farm as much as he can and get to those lanes and get the easy ganks. He doesn't want to get stuck up in top lane, take a whole bunch of damage from Renekton, have to go back to the base, lose timers, or lose buff time.
And we can see how Lee Sin is going to most likely get ahead in this game. And Leona engaging in bottom lane, and Vi actually disconnected, and we're going to see the engagement here with the Syndra gang. 3 people bottom. Thresh got ignited, and Syndra is going to get that first blood, even though Ezreal did try to get that kill. And we have a pause because Vi did disconnect. So we're waiting for that. That was an
Vi
interesting
is back
game.
now, but
Yeah, but
it was, and it was a wise choice by Syndra. It's definitely a wise choice to head on down there, and that is. It has the potential to put her ahead in lane, but it really comes down to the farm that both champions are getting. So if Orianna is keeping up on the farm, that could have cost Vi a little bit. But I think she's headed bot lane to stay for a little bit now, try and put as much pressure on Tristana as possible.
yeah, and we actually have Lee Sin in top, and Renekton's going to face check this bush. He's going to be greeted by that blind monk, but as you said, he doesn't even need his flash. He's just gonna slice and dice out of there, not taking too much damage.
I will say, Genki is definitely doing an excellent job keeping up the counter jungling. He's taken a red, he's taken the wraiths, and I think that's really going to set people back quite a bit as it goes on, especially with Vi just having disconnected. But Vi's actually keeping up in levels. She's doing a good job of it.
Well, she just did go to lane to pick up a little bit of farm off mid when Syndra was gone, so that's gonna help her a little bit. But in overall, I think we should see Lee Sin. Actually, he has less farm than she does at the moment. So I guess she made up for it, but he did have those or denied her that red buff. So in terms of lane presence, she was not available. But again, Lee Sin only ganked top once, and even then they didn't pick up a kill. So both junglers evening back out right here.
I'll have to give Vi credit on that one. Like that, losing your red early on
And
is
disconnecting.
not a good thing. And disconnecting, not a good thing. Set you back.
And Thresh came mid to try and get that that gank off, but sadly he couldn't really hit that that hook.
Currently in the top lane, Malphite is getting pretty messed up. And there's the flash and the stun, but Malphite is not going to go down too. Oh, I was wrong. I was wrong on my values.
I actually didn't expect that fight to go down. But yeah,
Feel free to
Malphite.
make fun of me.
I'm not gonna make fun of you for that one. I didn't actually expect that fight to go in either one's way. But yeah, Renekton picking up that kill against Malphite should help him a little bit. Currently their farm, Renekton is ahead in farm, so we'll see as that gets a little bit as he gets ahead as well.
Well, it is pretty standard strategy. Just make it as hard as possible for the other person to farm. But a lot of the farm, it seems, for excuse me, for Malphite has been pushed under tower, and he's had to been farming under tower, which definitely causes a lot of issues for a champion like Malphite.
Yeah, and Vi's gonna give Syndra a blue buff. That should help her in that lane. And
the early kill and the blue buff, that's definitely going to help against Orianna.
And we'll see if I believe did Lee Sin, okay, his blue buff is not back up yet because he did go for his red when Vi was coming down there. So his blue buff will be up again, and I think we will see. And Vi actually disconnecting again. And I'm gonna take this time
Another pause
to change those labels because those are actually misplaced as well. I forgot.
Ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, we are running ourselves a very professional stream. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
The most professional.
We're the best at what we do. You know, this is proving problematic for Vi.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue, and I hope that this connection error does not persist, because that would obviously be game breaking. I mean, you can't go on.
She does have a half an hour to return, as standard league rules, all that jazz. Yeah. Going back to the game though, and just looking kind of at the ideas behind it. Well, UC is definitely down kills. They're definitely down in gold currently, but I do still think that the team comp is going to be where it's at. And I know you said team comp isn't everything, and that's correct. You have a lot a lot goes into being comfortable in your champion and good at what your champion can do and team play. But I do think that the UC's comp is going to come into play very much and not too long. Especially when we start getting the bigger team fights, you're going to see a lot of the hit and run tactics.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, the thing with the team comp based based teams is that, you know, it's your team comp. You want your team to be all together and to fight based on your comp. But in this early game, it's the laning phase, and as long as we don't see constant rotations, for the most part, all lanes will just be standard lanes. So in that case, it's whoever picked, you know, the better champion, or whoever knows their matchup better. So while Aloni may be ahead now, if team comp is what Cincinnati went for, and if it's what they practice, then as soon as we see the team phase start rolling in, I think we're going to see Cincinnati catching up very quickly.
Yeah, I do believe that they're definitely going to catch up. The only issue that could happen is that by the time they catch up, they're almost too far behind, and that's going to be really the determining factor. It's how long that Oni can keep the. It's how long Oni can keep the lane phase going effectively.
All right, and Vi reconnected, so the match is going to continue now.
What was our pause timer at? What did that have left? About 20 minutes?
It was like 25, I believe, something around there.
That is the number to keep your eye on, because if it continues going that way and you run out of that time, there's nothing that can be done for Vi. She's just gonna have to disconnect and reconnect as can be.
And we're gonna see
also make this game take forever.
We're seeing an interesting rotation because Lee Sin is in that bomb bush, which is unwarded, but Syndra's coming down as well, and Lee Sin is going to engage on the Leona, and the support's trying to back out here, but Tristana went all in, not taking a whole lot of damage, and Vi disconnecting again. So we're probably going to see another pause any second now. And that pause. Bottom lane surprisingly ending in 0 for 0. Even though it was a 3-on-3 and Tristana went in, but nothing happened. And the pause.
But looking at it, nothing really happened because Syndra was there. Syndra, I'm going to have to give credit, is excellent at roaming. The Syndra is excellent at roaming. At least so far. Coming down when she thinks that a gank can come in, even without the jungler being there. And with Vi having such connection issues, it's definitely good for Purple's bot lane to have pressure for it, even though the jungler isn't always there. Which is going to help out quite a bit, because Thresh and Tristana are not going to want to overextend if they can help it. Just because they're concerned about Syndra. Syndra also has her ult now, so her burst is much higher. So a Syndra burst gank can definitely cause some issues.
Oh yeah, definitely. The Syndra gank, it's effective, especially if you know, I love Syndra. She's one of my favorite mid laners, and it's because there's so many things you can do with her, especially with her her stun. I mean, if you ult first and then use your stun, you know, you have like 5 spheres flying around the lane, so you're bound to hit someone with them, and that can obviously be extremely devastating, especially in team fights, when you can stun everyone with a single E.
And you actually, unfortunately, I don't play Syndra too much, so I'm not big on her mechanics. But you bring up a good point of something that I just kind of thought about with the team.
And we see Orianna actually coming top real quick and using the ball on Malphite with the ult, trying to get Renekton in there. And he was ignited, but he's just going to go on. And Orianna with the dive, coming in to pick up that kill, taking a few turret shots, but she really doesn't care because she came in for that kill and she got what she wanted. Sorry to interrupt you, I just...
Oh no, you're fine. More than fine, my friend. But what I was going to go with is, with the team comp that Cincinnati has, versus a Syndra ult and then scatter the weak, if they go all in, everybody, somebody on the lantern, people jumping in, and Syndra can get a scatter the weak into the entire crowd, that's not going to go well. Syndra flashing in, picking up that kill on Orianna.
I was actually surprised by that. I was watching the map trying to see which lane was going to get the next kill, and I just see Syndra kind of walking around Orianna, and I was surprised that she would use her flash so aggressively to pick up that kill.
Well, I guess you have to consider that your team, Purple Team, Oni is talking, so they know that Orianna doesn't have her flash. So it's probably a, you know, it's a weighing kind of thing. You have to decide, is it worth it to use my flash on something like that? And she'd already used her ult, so she kind of wanted to just secure that, I would say.
Yeah.
Pick up that gold.
I would have to agree with that. But now both mid lane flashes are down, and Orianna's is going to come up first. So we'll see how that plays out later on. And by the time those flashes are up, we might actually already be seeing some bigger rotations when the teams come together.
I don't think that, and I'm gonna be wrong because I've just now said this, but I have a feeling that the flashes for mid aren't gonna come in too important currently.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the plays we've seen, there's been so much roaming and not so much ganking. Lee Sin, though, coming behind Syndra, kicking her into the pylon. She's gonna go down.
And Syndra's going to go down again. She tried to ult the Orianna, and Vi coming in here trying to pick up that kill, and she's going to get as well. We're going to see Lee Sin turning around to try and help her, but couldn't do that. And she's just going to clear lane now. We'll see. I wonder if she's going to try and go for a push, or if she's just trying to pick up some farm.
I'd say she's trying to pick up some farm, but the bigger problem that's going to come from her getting that kill is Orianna just got the blue buff. She just got the blue buff, so now Vi has taken the blue buff before it's given anything to Orianna at all. Mm-hmm. And that is definitely going to make up for getting counter jungled earlier.
Yeah.
Gonna help. If she hasn't already caught up, she is now.
And Ezreal being hooked here and flayed back, even though he did try to dodge, and we're going to see Tristana try and go all in, and it's just not going to be enough here for Aloni. The peel off Leona is not nearly enough, and Tristana is going to pick up that kill. Very nice play, nice hook, and the flay. I don't know if he aimed it on purpose, but Ezreal dodged right, and he flayed farther to the right than I would have, and it actually ended up causing Ezreal to be stuck a little bit longer. We're going to see a dragon rotation now, actually. And Syndra knows. Syndra knows, and she wards. And we're going to see if they're going to contest this. But they did just lose their AD carry. So I really don't think that there will be anything contested here. And of course not.
Syndra can't do anything about that, and Vi was too far away.
Yeah, that was definitely an easy dragon for blue team. Everything going in their favor right now. Cincinnati catching back up, like we said. I mean, we haven't seen the team fight phase yet, but
one of the things you definitely want to look at now is Cincinnati, albeit small, they have completely closed the gold gap and now have started it in their favor by almost a little under 1,000 gold.
Yeah, before I think they were apart by about 1,000 in Aloni's favor, and now Cincinnati ahead by 1,000. So they kind of just swapped in the last few minutes.
And I will say this from having casted many games during the summer tournament for the university. One of the things that I saw on a lot of the teams, a lot of the higher end kind of competing teams for that, is that's how it went. They really just kind of just hung out during the early game, and a lot of it was based around end game team comps. And once they got to about that 15-minute mark or so, they started turning it into their favor.
Yeah, and we see Vi singing this push trying to gank the Orianna. She's going to shield and flash, get out of there without any damage, but Lee Sin is coming in for an attempted counter gank, but he himself is just going to get out of there. But yeah, gank in favor of Aloni for that burn flash, but no one picking up any plays right there.
Well, I will say Lee Sin had the right idea and pretty good reflexes to dump to Orianna and not get hit by a ball and scatter the weak. Or else that would have been a very deadly sin.
Yeah, both junglers were in that area for quite a while. So I think they knew that mid lane gank was coming soon, and they both were barely out of sight of each other. And Vi actually coming top right now. Renekton getting a little bit aggressive on this Malphite, and he's going to ult defensively to get away, and actually hits Vi in that process. So you could say that was a pretty good ult instead of just, you know, because Vi has CC, so if he didn't hit Vi, she could have still tried to follow up and do a little bit of damage, but by hitting her, he definitely secured the fact that he could get away.
And I will say that was an excellent choice to use that ult defensively, because he didn't want to get stuck by a stun, which we just saw happen from Renekton, because that stun plus Vi would have more than likely spelled his death. But also you gotta consider that his ult is kind of like a flash, and it has a third of the cooldown time, so it was more worth it in that situation, because there's more than likely we're not going to see a team fight still for a little while, so that ult's not going to be a necessary thing.
Yeah, and then in bottom lane we saw Lee Sin being poked a little bit by Ezreal because they do have that Brush Warden, and now currently there were 3 in bottom lane, but they're retreating. Lee Sin is retreating to his jungle, and it's going to go back to normal in bottom lane. And we've seen a lot of action in that bottom lane. We've seen Syndra rotate bottom a lot, and I think it's gone out at the beginning in Aloni's favor, but like you said, it's now 1,000 gold difference for Cincinnati, so we're seeing them turn this game around. And top lane actually taking down a turret right there.
And that Renekton has been very aggressive this entire game. 20 more farm, then Malphite. Bot lane, big gank coming in. Tristana's going to rocket jump in. Levi's going to come in and punch her in the face.
Tristana again playing extremely aggressively and getting shielded. Malphite is coming down there with the teleport. And he's going to try and get on that Ezreal and does take him down. But Thresh going down to Vi as well. Malphite now fighting a 1v2, now fighting a 1v3. He is going to ult and pick up that double kill off of Leona, and too much burst right there. No way he was going to get out of that.
No, you see losing that trade 3-2.
And Renekton is just being a bully in top lane right now. He's just attacking that turret and does not care that Lee Sin is there with him. And but they are going to get that bottom lane turret. So that was definitely in Aloni's favor. And now we're going to see the gold go back into Aloni's favor, actually.
See, while I will have to still give UC's team comp a better team comp, just in pure idea, once again, just in pure idea of team comp, I will have to say it's better.
And we see Renekton getting 2v1ing essentially up in top lane, and he gets that ignite down on Lee Sin. He turned on them 1v2 and bursted down Lee Sin and still got out. And that was actually a very good play by Renekton. And I was very surprised how that play turned out, essentially because it was a 2v1 for Cincinnati, and it ended up being a 3v1 almost, but Renekton just burst down Lee Sin immediately.
Oni putting on as much pressure as possible onto these towers. And, you know, I think that they saw what I was talking about, the whole team comp, that kind of style of team comp, because really what they seem to be doing is just trying to force lanes one at a time as they can, picking off people along the way, and not giving UC that chance for the full team comp, for something like Malphite ult into the entire team and then a Orianna ult pulling them back in.
I agree with you. I was about to bring up the fact that we've seen Renekton pushing that top lane, and in a way it's almost messing with Cincinnati's team comp because they have to send someone up there. And the Threshold going in on the AD carry here, and they're all going to try to engage. Ezreal trying to get out, and he gets kicked back into the team, and he is going to die to Tristana. We see Vi trying to counter-engage here, but Malphite goes in as well. Aloni trying to run away here without giving up too many kills, and we see Syndra falling to Malphite as well, and the team's splitting up, Vi going bottom and getting away, and that was a very nice engage from Cincinnati with that Thresh Hook. That was a very nice Thresh Hook.
You see winning that trade 0 for 2.
And getting a dragon.
Picking up the dragon.
And Thresh barely missing that that grab on Renekton. That could have been Renekton's death right there if he would have grabbed him, because he was pretty much by himself at that point.
They're going to have to start doing something about that Renekton, though. That is for sure. UC has to handle that, because he's now 30 farm ahead, and he's not that far ahead on kills versus, say, Malphite. He's actually 1 underneath him. But he's been pushing that top lane as much as possible, and if he can keep doing that, that's going to spell lots of problems for the university.
But what we saw right there at the river is what we were talking about with the team comp. I mean, after the AD carry got grabbed, Aloni tried to sort of form a way to disengage off of that, but with the Threshold and Malphite coming in and Lee Sin kicking Ezreal back into Cincinnati's team. We saw that this team comp is extremely terrifying.
Ezreal's gonna get hooked there. Tristana's gonna go in with the rocket jump, but she's gonna get stopped by Leona. And they are gonna put a lot of poke on Eloni.
And Syndra actually coming in from behind, seeing if we can get a gank right here. And she misses her stun, but Leona does get down slow on Tristana, and the burst is too high. Tristana's going to go down, and they're going to see if they can get Thresh here. Syndra
Thresh is gonna walk out of that. Going to top lane though. Lee Sin and Malphite putting down Renekton.
And with that, we have Cincinnati ahead again by 1,000 gold. That seems to be the magical number for this match.
Yeah, I think at this point it's just gonna keep shifting both ways, really.
A very, very close match. So I think that's great. I'd rather have a close match than a snowball. So this is a very interesting match. And Vi is going to try to save this top lane, and let's see if she can do something here. Both are very low. She might just go in on Malphite, but Lee Sin does kick her back. And the Ezreal ult coming in and picking up Malphite. Barely, but still picking that up. And Vi wanted to go on Lee Sin, but decided to turn that around.
Too much distance put between them to do much about that.
And that was a nice Lee Sin kick to try to save Malphite, but the Ezreal ult was just there. So that was too bad.
Close. Malphite, you almost lived.
Almost, but even rocks must die. And Eloni was pinging mid tower, so that might be their next objective, but they're grouping for this one. They see Tristana in bottom lane, so and the Malphite being dead, so this is a 3v5 right now in this mid lane, and we're gonna see how they can do this. And the Thresher coming in on Vi, probably not the person they really wanted to hook right there, and they are gonna get that turret down. Orianna using her ult. Ezreal extremely low. Malphite ulting into the entire team. Thresh using his ult and flashing out, but we're going to see that Cincinnati is going to follow up on this. Leona re-engaging, knowing she's going to die. Going down though. Lee Sin dying as well. Thresh trying to get away, but he also falls to Vi. Vi queuing out. We have Renekton falling up on Orianna, but she's just staying under that turret, letting him take those turret hits. And wow, what a fight. That was... I'm going to just hand this over to the analyst.
Yes, the analyst, of course. That's my job. I'm really good at that. Anyhow, looking at that, you did see what UC was looking for with their team comp. One of the biggest problems was Thresh went back in, and I can see what he was trying to do. I really do. He was trying to drag them into the turret. Didn't want that kill to get away. But I think they might have been better off just giving up on that one, to be honest, and just Thresh bailing away. I don't think that he was saving anybody with that. He was just really looking to put down another member of the other team. So I think that might have been a wiser decision for them. But you can see what we were talking about. There's a lot of power behind UC's team comp. They poked them down quite a bit, and then they went in, and then there was the Orianna ult, the Thresh ult, and the Malphite. Well, no, Malphite did not ult on that fight, I don't believe. Actually. Now that I say that, I may have misspoken.
I think he did. He came in late, definitely. And I think that's what caused such a stir up for Eloni, because they decided to fight, and Malphite just needed... They took down the tower, and then they got closer to Cincinnati's base, and you know that just shortens the distance for Malphite to walk back into the fight. So I don't think they expected him to come back, and I believe he ulted, but I don't want to correct you because I'm not completely sure either, but I believe he ulted, but I might be wrong. And there's a hook coming in on Syndra here, but she gets out of that. Eloni ready to follow up in case Cincinnati would have engaged. And we're gonna see what happens here. Renekton staying in that top jungle, putting pressure on Malphite so that he can't really join the fight in mid, and we're gonna see how this fight plays out here. Yeah, Renekton. This Renekton has been a thorn in Cincinnati's top lane. And we're gonna see how he continues to push. Or not. He can just stop pushing as I say that.
10 seconds, still Dragon's back up.
Yeah, we might see a dragon fight because Renekton is rotating down. And Malphite's teleport is up, so he doesn't actually need to rotate. And Renekton is standing on a ward. They know he's up there. And Aloni, rotating down to that dragon. And I think we will see a fight here, especially with the Malphite teleport up.
Well, Malphite's got to get ready to do that because as it is now, it is a 4v5, and I don't know if UC can fight that.
We're going to see what happens here. They're trying to put in those wards. And yes, there's the Malphite ult. Aloni disengaging right now. They do not want to fight this team as it is. And Vi trying to re-engage. She misses her Q on Ezreal. Renekton trying to get on Ezreal, Orianna. And we see Vi going down. Excuse me, Syndra going down and Thresh going down. Renekton is sticking to that AD carry, and he is not letting up. Orianna trying to shield Tristana, and Tristana jumping back into the Baron Pit where Ezreal was waiting. We see Lee Sin and Tristana trying to get the Tristana and Tristana picking up a kill on Ezreal, and these teams just split, making it extremely hard to follow what's going on. Vi picking up that kill on Tristana, who got very low in that fight against.
Yeah, Tristana kind of walked into it, but the other advantage that UC currently has with forcing that fight at Dragon, if you take a look at bot lane, that's a lot of caster minions.
Yeah, that bottom lane might have a. That needs to be addressed soon, and Aloni is gonna try and pick up this dragon anyways, and they will. But that fight was all over the place. That went all around the dragon pit, and the jungle, and that just shows Aloni's trying to split the team, and they're successfully doing it at the moment, at least. And I think that's their way right now to try to cope with this team comp.
I'd have to agree with you. I will say though, I do feel bad for Tristana. She walked out of a bush directly into a fist.
Yeah, Tristana tried to jump back into the dragon pit to get away, but Ezreal was right there.
Well, she did pick that up.
She did pick up the kill. That's true.
It was more the issue of then she didn't stick with
Lee Sin.
Going like a safer kind of path, in my opinion. Going rotating down. Instead, she rotated up where that was kind of the last seen movements of the enemy team. Aloni pinging Baron.
Yeah, they just warded it, and I wonder if they're going to try to get Baron right now. I mean, we see both teams rotating into that top jungle. Leona flashing over that wall, getting the ult off on Orianna and slowing her, and Vi falling up too. Orianna using her ult defensively to try to go away. Right now, it does look like she will, but no, they're going to re-engage and burst her down. That's Syndra's stun coming in at a perfect time, but we see Cincinnati coming from top jungle. Tried to re-engage, but couldn't really do it. Tristana trying to get on Syndra, but Renekton does fall up. She's going to jump out of the way though and not get killed. Malphite trying to run away right now, but he's going to get picked up. Thresh hooking Vi under the turret. Renekton just diving 3 of them behind their tower and doing a lot of damage to that backline. And Aloni will pick up that mid tower.
Yeah, UC just trying to fight a fight that was not in their favor at all.
Yeah, I noticed that after the Orianna got caught out, they tried to reinitiate the fight, and Aloni backed away from it, and then as Cincinnati backed off from it too, Tristana and Lee Sin and Malphite tried to come from different angles, but Thresh was already trying to back off at that point. So it was just different people coming in at different times.
It wasn't timed correctly, because at that point Orianna had died, Thresh had already gone back to base, and it just there was not enough people there. There weren't enough bodies. It went from being a 2v4 to a 3v5.
And Vi disconnecting, but it's been a while since the last one, so I guess it's better now.
I would hope.
That last fight, I have to agree that the timing was just off. Orianna had died, and then Lee Sin tried to engage, and he decided to back off, and then Tristana got Syndra down low and decided to back off, and then Malphite came in from behind, and I think he was trying to sneak in and kill Syndra, and then he got put pretty low and tried to back off, and then at that point everyone on Cincinnati was too low to contest that turret.
Agreed. But yeah, I will have to say, in that fight, I think the best option would have been to leave Orianna to die, effectively.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that she used her ult and got everyone together, I think Cincinnati tried to follow up on that, but it couldn't. They just couldn't. At that point, it was too late.
And see, that is one of the bigger questions that all teams have to ask themselves: is do we go in or do we sacrifice this one person? And I think they thought they could go in on that because they thought they could pick up the Syndra. Maybe that Renekton wasn't quite close enough to be too much of an issue. And there's just a lot of factors that do go into that.
And that's always a very tough decision. What you mentioned, when you see your teammate dying, it's always, especially if you're right there, it's always tough to just say I can't help you, like I'm sorry, but you have to die right now, and that's always tough.
Little cryptic, but you have to do what you have to do, especially because it's a video game. Lee Sin going to kick Leona a couple times.
And yeah, Tristana coming in too, and we see Thresh grab as well, and this is going to be a full-on fight. Tristana already going down. Lee Sin trying to back out of here. Malphite in the middle of 5 people, ulting all of them, and just surviving right now. So much punishment, and gets Leona very low, but she's not going to die. And the Thresh Lantern coming in, pulling him out of that. And we're going to see him walk away. And Aloni following up on that. Enough people low to maybe try to dive someone. But Ezreal just gets slowed by Orianna and takes a little bit too much damage to just full-on dive the turret. We're going to see Aloni knocking on Cincinnati's front door here, going for that middle turret. We'll see if they'll be able to do it. Thresh grabbing Syndra. Syndra going down immediately to Orianna. But Lee Sin below trying to leave as well. Renekton diving and taking a little bit of abuse, but you can just slice and dice out.
UC is definitely making some questionable trades. They are also, one of the other things that I think we need to look at is the wards. UC really has minimal ward coverage. They have a ward towards the bottom. They have a ward in the lower river bush. And they have a ward in the very front of Baron. Whereas Aloni has pretty much all of their bottom jungle warded. And a ward at Baron. And yeah, there's just a lot better site coverage for Aloni, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I think we're going to see... Actually, Orianna's backing off, so I'm not... Yeah, they're backing off of this Baron, so we're not going to see them contest it yet. And there is a Cincinnati ward in front of Baron, so Aloni will have to pink that, or they're going to know about the presence. But yeah, Aloni looking to team fight right now. They're all grouping up, or maybe even just grab Baron, but they are pinging the Cincinnati jungle. And yeah, they're going to pink it, and we're going to see if they're going to... Nope, they're just dancing. They're not letting me decide on what they're going to do.
Well, I don't think they really want to give Cincinnati any chance to come back into this, because if they want to start Baron, it's going to be...
And we're going to see Vi engage here after Cincinnati tries to back off, and we're going to see Tristana die almost instantly. And the engage coming in from both teams now. Aloni looking rather strong in this fight. Lee Sin dropping low and getting picked up by Vi. We see Orianna shielding Thresh, and he's trying to back off as well. Renekton just being a pain. Orianna flashing over that wall after getting stunned though. Thresh grabbing Renekton, probably not the target that he wanted right now. Renekton looks like he's going to dive this. Does stun Malphite. Both teams just fighting under the tower, and that was a 1 for 2 for Aloni.
Looking back at that fight, I think I've figured out UC's main problem here. I think the biggest issue is they can't peel for, excuse me, Tristana. They seem to just be, every time that they try, they get slowed or they get stopped. And Aloni is doing an excellent job at just destroying one of their main damage dealers in the very beginning. Just they are evaporated Tristana in that situation. While UC barely got Syndra, it seemed. So UC has got to start peeling as hard as they can for their AD carry, and they've got to start taking down the higher damage dealers on Aloni's side.
I have to agree with you. I mean, Vi singles out the Tristana every fight, and Renekton just follows up on that. And we haven't seen Renekton die that often. If we take a look, Renekton's 3-2, and he's pretty much at Cincinnati's backline during every fight, and he's again just he's in the front of Aloni's team right now, and he's definitely something that needs to be addressed, and it's hard to address because he is a tank, but he's definitely making a lot of plays for Aloni right now.
I would have to agree, and I will say the Renekton and the Vi have very good teamwork on that, because whenever Vi seems to ult in, there seems to be an immediate stun followed up as soon as it's done.
Yeah, and we're gonna see them dance the Baron dance here, at least for a little bit.
I will have to say, this Renekton is, I think he's just kind of terrifying at this point, because Renekton by himself scattered UC. That just small interaction in the upper river just scattered the main members of UC, and they just pretty much took off.
I have to completely agree with you. The Renekton, he's fearless. He dives the back line non-stop, and he sticks to that line no matter how much abuse he takes. And Leona getting caught out here, taking down a lot of CC. She can't go anywhere. Syndra trying to go and end Zhonya's, another questionable move, whether or not they should just let Leona fall, and she's going to die regardless of using her flash and her Zhonya's. And what we talked about, sometimes you have to let your teammate fall. And you saw all the other members of Aloni hesitating to help Leona there. And we're going to see that Cincinnati is going to Baron off of this.
As I said before, at least from what I've seen often with UC teams, this is kind of what happens, it seems. Not that they are bad during the game. Like, as you can see, it's 16 to 19, pretty even gold. They just aren't always the best laners. And then at the very end, they come up and just wreck you with team fights.
And off that Baron, Vi getting grabbed by Thresh and going in. I don't know if you noticed that, but she tried to steal it and it was already gone. But Renekton and Ezreal taking down that middle turret, but not the inhibitor. Renekton having to flash here because instead of backing Cincinnati, just kind of collapsed on them from behind. But both of them getting away without dying. So at least Baron didn't go without any trade. But I think Baron for that tower is definitely in favor for Cincinnati. Plus the fight right before that, they took out 2 of Aloni's members. So I think that definitely went in favor of Cincinnati.
And I will say that I agree that the Baron for tower was a good trade because they didn't get the inhibitor. While they got the inhibitor tower, with the inhibitor still up, there's no super creeps spawning, and that gives UC a lot of pushing potential. And I think we're seeing that right now as you see a line of blue just heading down that mid lane.
Yeah, we're going to see... I wonder if Aloni's going to try to completely contest this turret or just poke a little bit and let it go. And Lee Sin going in all the way here on Ezreal. Ezreal flashing onto the other side of Lee Sin to get kicked into his base instead of into the team. And Vi just standing on the front lines, tanking this Thresh, hooking a minion. Sadly, I wonder if that would have been a re-engage if he would have gotten by. I don't think they would have engaged. Oh, maybe she was at 50%, but I don't think they would have completely engaged on that if Thresh would have hit that hook.
I'd say UC would have, because you got to look at UC. Their health is almost all full.
Yeah, with
all
the Baron buff.
really went on Zelda.
Yeah, and all ults being up too. You're actually right on that. UC has all their ults except for Lee Sin's up, so yeah, that could have definitely been a good engagement for them. And they're gonna keep sieging this tower right now.
Well, they have to. They got the Baron buff. They want to use it as well as they can.
Another minion wave coming in, so that damages. Turret is gonna take damage. Lee Sin going in for the backline dive, 1v4ing and getting back out. The ult's coming down here. The Orianna bringing them all together. Cincinnati looking to engage on this fight. Vi trying to get out, but she's not going to get out of that one. And we're going to see the 1-for-1 trade right now. Thresh hooking Syndra. They're going to re-engage on this. Syndra going down almost immediately. Leona's flash being burned right there. Ezreal trying to do at least a little bit of damage, but he's going to back off, and they are going to get this turret. Nectin coming in to try to stop them at least a little bit, but he really can't do anything at this point. It's a 1v4 with the Baron, and they're going to get this inhibitor as well.
And UC made the best choice possible in that match. They chose a sacrificial lamb, and that sacrificial lamb was Lee Sin. Because if you were watching that, what you saw was Lee Sin did jump into the back line, and Lee Sin at this point is pretty tanky. And he just took that damage while UC's main group just hammered away on that tower. So while they did lose a person, UC pretty much planned that so they could get the tower, and then they picked off a couple of members of Eloni as well.
And the dragon. So even though Eloni is ahead in kills, we see that Cincinnati is actually ahead in gold by about 4,000. So
you also have to consider that they're a tower ahead, that tower ahead being the inhibitor tower of mid lane and the inhibitor of mid lane. Like UC has closed the gap that they originally had, and they are just now trying to force a gap in their favor as much as they can.
Yeah, this match has been interesting so far, but since the Baron, we've seen Cincinnati taking charge of this match. And we'll see how it will continue after the Baron buff wore off. Now that it has worn off, I wonder how it's going to turn out. I mean, a 4,000 gold lead it's a good lead. So I wonder which team is going to be stronger at this point. And like we said at the very beginning, the team comp for Cincinnati is just better. And when they do pull off a good team fight, it's devastating.
And that's the thing, when like you said, it is devastating, but when they can pull that off, they pull it off. That's
Renekton might get caught here. The hook coming out, and he dodges it, and they're not going to be able to follow up on that right now. That hook would have definitely spelled death for Renekton.
Baron up in a minute 45, which if UC doesn't put down another inhibitor at this point, there's a good chance we'll see another Baron fight, especially if Eloni can keep their mid lane pushed out.
And Vi in bottom lane, they probably saw it from the minion wave, but they're not even going to try and contest that turret at the moment. And looks like what you said was right. They might try and go for that second inhibitor and then try to go for that Baron. So we're gonna see a siege up here for now. And I wonder if Lee Sin is going to try and go in again and have that Oriole. And Syndra going in on Tristana here. Tristana burying a little bit too late, but jumping out. And I believe that Cincinnati's going to try to back off for now.
I'd have to agree. I'm saying that I would say that ends UC's current assault. Tristana not going back.
They're actually trying to catch out 4 of Eloni's members right here while Renekton is top. We're going to see if anything happens right here. Yeah, I believe Tristana, yeah, she lifestealed back off of the jungle.
Oh, yeah, Tristana at this point has massive lifesteal, a lot of attack speed, and like the Blade of the Ruined King is still available for an option.
And we see them rotating down, trying to see if they can just force another turret at this point to help secure that Baron. And Lee Sin going in right here. Again, he's going to kick Leona towards his team. And this time it looks like he might actually be getting out. Cincinnati engaging full-on 5v5. And they are laying down the hurt on Aloni right now. We have 3 of Aloni down at this point. 4. Syndra the only one up, trying to get away from this. She ults Justana and does get 1 kill. So that's 4 for 1. But unarguably completely in favor of Cincinnati, and they are going to get this inhibitor, and they might even go for some
with a minion wave coming in. I'd say that there's a good chance that they might try it, but looking at it right now, they're going to rotate top and try and finish off that other tower.
They're going to push these waves, but I think I'm not. They could go top, or they could try to go for these towers. And they are going to go for the towers. I wonder if they will be able to finish off of this. Aloni's members being up in about 20 seconds. Lee Sin going in here on Syndra, going a little bit too deep and getting killed off by that fountain. And it does look like Cincinnati will win this match right here. Orianna going down. Syndra right now just laying waste to Cincinnati. Leona coming in, doing some damage. They're trying to stop this win, but Malphite is just so tanky at this point. They're going to get them really low and very close to dying right there, but they do finish off that turret, and that is a win for a close, I would say a close win for a close-ish win for Cincinnati.
I would have to agree. I think we definitely saw some issues. Apparently the item bar was down on the stream. I don't know what quite happened there.
Oh, during the fight,
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I will say that was a close fight for Cincinnati up until the end there, when they just started that massive push and they picked up that larger team fight.
Yeah. I mean, at the end it was close, but I think Cincinnati knew that with the minion waves coming in that they could have just forced that that Nexus right away.
So this, as the last we discussed with the other players, they did want to do a best 2 of 3.
Okay.
Just letting everybody know, and do believe that we were going to go on a short intermission while we set up the new game. That is correct, as far as I recall.
All right, so it is going to be best 2 out of 3.
As far as I recall, that is what the teams agreed on. But while we're on intermission, I'll double check that, and if that is no longer the case, we'll bring the stream back up, and we will tell everybody that that was it, and UC won.
All right, then. Until then, we're going to go on intermission, and yeah, we'll be back up soon.